You are a toy. Hi, Hungry, I'm Dad. And much like many dads before me, I get the joy of watching the same movie over and over and over again for months at a time. Lucky for me, not only did I end up with a good movie to watch month after month, I also ended up with a series of 4 movies. For the last 3 months, I've been watching Toy Story 1 through 4 on a regular basis while my son tells me he has a snake in his boot. I was also a Toy Story kid. I ran that Toy Story VHS tape into the ground, and I had a Woody doll that I carried with me everywhere. And not even my brother throwing him into a tree could stop that bond. Don't worry, boys, we got him back. We created a completely different version of the Toy Story 3 script in that yard rescuing Woody from that tree. It wasn't nearly as good. But as I've been watching these movies day after day, I started to gain more questions about how the universe of Toy Story works. This tends to happen when you watch something as many times as I've seen Toy Story recently. You're trying to find anything else at all to entertain you with it. So the analytical brain turns on. My main 3 questions are these. What makes a toy sentient / what is a toy? Number 2 is, how do the toys know to go toy mode? And lastly, do the toys feel pain / can they die? I know that the last one is a little dark, but I've seen these movies a lot of times, and maybe I'm sick of seeing Potato Head constantly throwing Woody under the bus. Like seriously, half of these movies could be avoided if Potato Head wasn't ready to start a mutiny against Woody at the drop of a vinyl cowboy hat. So let's start with question 1. What makes these guys tick? At first, I thought it was eyeballs, but then I realized very quickly that they dismissed this in the first movie with Mr. Spell and some of the smaller background toys. Like they don't even have mouths and they talk. But we do have some insight into the process thanks to Toy Story 4, when Bonnie forces this literal piece of garbage into life. This shows us that anything a child plays with, like a toy, will be an alive toy, implying that this crinkled up paper that I named after the wrestler Goldberg as a child would also be an alive toy.
My friend Goblin.
Please don't make fun of this kid. Bible Man is his favorite superhero, and he's terrified of the ghost at the beginning of the live-action Scooby-Doo movie. He skips the entire first scene every time he watches the movie, and it's like one of his favorite VHSs, right after Toy Story 2. But this doesn't just apply to children. Toys can be alive before they're played with. Because how else are the Buzz Lightyears from Al's Toy Barn, Zurg, or Stinky Pete alive when they've never been played with? This now changes the scope of who has the magical ability to turn toys into living beings. Adults, children, anyone can grant a toy with sentience. Does this apply to cat toys? Dog toys? Is there a living squeaky hot dog in the Toy Story universe? I need answers, and they don't give them to me. Also, what's with balls? Like a beach ball. Every kid owns a beach ball, and you never see a talking beach ball rolling around the Toy Story world. Show me balls, Pixar. So pretty quickly, we have our first question answered. Anything that is created with the intention of being a toy or is played with like a toy, then suddenly becomes a living being. A toy is whatever you want to be a toy, and that's how it becomes a toy. So that leads us into our second question. How do they know to be toys or go toy mode? When Buzz Lightyear arrives in Andy's room in the first movie, he thinks he's an actual space ranger, yet he still turns off when humans are around. You would think based off of Buzz's behavior when humans aren't around that he would try to laser Andy's face off the second he picked him up. He doesn't think he's a toy, but he allows himself to be played with like one. In my research, I've seen a lot of theories about why Buzz does this. Some say he has special technology that makes him think he's a real person and all the other toys already know. So he's just doing what they do to avoid detection. But that doesn't make any sense because he still lets Andy play with him. And also, in the direct-to-DVD short, The Toys That Time Forgot, the gang meets a group of dinosaur toys that don't get played with because their kid was too busy rotting his brain with evil video games, and all these dinosaurs think they're real.
See, the Battleswords are not playing. They've never been played with. They don't even know they're toys!
Incredible, isn't it?
I've also seen theories that everything that's happening is just Andy's imagination, but that theory falls flat with Toy Story 3 when toys switched between Andy and Bonnie's possession. Unless Andy's thinking about a little kid playing with his toys, therefore somebody needs to help Andy. I read genius theory after genius theory trying to figure out this one. And what I came to is none of this is right, and Toy Story just requires a little bit of suspension of belief. I mean, more than is required for a movie about toys that come to life. He just goes toy mode because he does. I've combed these movies over and over, and I can't find any reason for this. So, I have no choice but to chalk it up to writer's oversight. I wish I had a better answer than that, but there isn't one. At least not officially. Because if they would have made Buzz act like he does when he's alive through most of the movie, then the whole plot would have fallen apart because it would have opened with Buzz trying to laser Andy's face off, and then it kind of becomes this horror movie about a kid being attacked by his toys. I wish I had a better answer than that, but there isn't one. And on that note, we can move on to what is the most morbid question of them all. Can these toys feel pain or die? This one actually has an absurd amount of variables to it, because thinking about if they can die also brings you to the question of what makes them live. You never see them eat, but the toys do breathe, which is shown to us through the toys being choked, or by the brief scene in Toy Story 3 where the toys are trapped in a trash bag on the curb, and Jessie refers to not being able to breathe inside of the trash bag. We also see this again with Jessie specifically in the direct-to-DVD movie Toy Story of Terror, where Jessie gets trapped in the toolbox. It seems like only Jessie breathes, but the toys do not breathe when they're in toy mode, and I think the same variable determines whether or not these toys feel pain. That is an insane sentence to say every single time. There are multiple instances across this series where toys will get hurt while in and out of toy mode. In Toy Story 2, Woody gets his arm ripped and later gets his arm ripped off entirely while in toy mode. In 4, Bonnie's dad steps on the man's head and turns his head into a Tostitos Scoops tortilla chip, not to mention all the times that Andy yeets this guy across the bedroom. In all of those instances, Woody has no reaction. But in Toy Story 1, when Sid burns his head, he screams in pain. When he's fighting, he gets hurt. When his arm gets ripped for a second time in Toy Story 2, when Stinky Pete pulls a Stitch with his pickaxe, Woody reacts to it as if it hurts, seemingly showing that when toys are alive, they feel pain and get hurt just as any person would. Of course, we've already seen that Toy Story doesn't follow its own set of rules very well, and occasionally there are times where living toys don't react to the pain they should be feeling, such as in Toy Story 4 when Bo Peep's arm gets pulled off and she acts like nothing is wrong. Or later in that same movie when Woody has back surgery and they remove his entire voice box and he's completely unfazed. Or even in Toy Story 1 when Buzz falls and his arm flies off after trying to jump out of Sid's window, and he doesn't get hurt. He just gets really sad.
Here, Buzz.
Don't you get it? You see the hat? I am Mrs. Nesbit.
Snap out of it, Buzz!
But this also contradicts itself in the other way, where in toy mode they can feel pain. In Toy Story 3, when all of the kids in the Caterpillar room play too violently with the toys that they're not big enough for, afterwards Buzz looks like me if I sleep on my pillow incorrectly. So pain seems to mostly be used when it's needed for plot, and removed when it's funnier to see Woody's head get stomped in and then blown up and pop back out. If I had to pick a definitive rule for this universe, they can only get hurt when not in toy mode, but while being played with, they can be bashed around. What I do have an absolute definitive answer to is that these guys certainly can be offed. The anatomy of the toy appears to be pretty malleable, so we know because of Sid's Frankenstein toys, you can chop these guys up and add whatever parts and they'll just keep on ticking. But clearly, due to the toys' reactions when they're about to get incinerated, or about to be crushed by a garbage truck, or about to be blown up by a rocket, or about to fall out of an airplane, or about to be hit by a car, or about to be chewed up by a dog, man, these toys almost die a lot. But what I'm getting at is I think a toy can be infinitely repaired if the damage isn't too bad. If it's crushed or burnt up beyond repair to the point that there's nothing left to save, they cannot be fixed. So I think through this research, which is just watching Toy Story a lot and reading a lot of forum posts, because surprisingly, there's a lot of them out there about this stuff, like these specific questions, I think I've mainly answered the questions I have, or at least acknowledged them, knowing that the writers did not because they needed to ignore it for plot purposes. But there were a few little odds and ends that I picked up by watching this that had nothing to do with these or didn't really fit into the script in other places. They may just be strange observations, but I don't have a place for them, so I'm just going to let them fly here. It seems that Buzz Lightyear can have multiple people living inside the same toy. In Toy Story 3, they reset Buzz to be a Spanish Buzz, but the regular Buzz is still in there and then just randomly pops out at the end when they're about to die. But then in the end credits, Spanish Buzz starts showing up again through dancing. I feel like that changes a lot about how I thought these living toys worked, because it makes it almost feel like they're programmed to be alive, but the rest of the toys don't have any kind of electricity in them and they still work. So I don't know what the deal is.
There is a pattern I recognized across all these movies, and that is if they break out the piss yellow filter, then it's about to get real sad and somebody's going to lose a toy.
And I didn't get into it as much as I wanted to earlier, but Potato Head sucks.
Potato Head.
And I don't know why they continue to listen to him. Every single movie, that guy is ready to turn on Woody in an instant. And Woody is just too kind. He should have beat the face off of that guy movies ago. Anytime something is slightly questionable, he is immediately ready just to throw Woody under that bus. It's not cool. Not cool, Potato Head.
Potato Head.
There's also the one that somebody probably typed a comment about already, that when Woody is burnt by Sid, he is in toy mode and then reacts afterwards, which would make you think that he feels pain in toy mode, he just can't react. And to that, I say, his head was burning. It was probably still burning when he came out of toy mode, so I don't think that one really counts or contradicts my theory.
And also, this version of Andy as a kid in Toy Story 4, you cannot convince me is the same kid as the rest of the movies. This has to be a different kid that had Woody and Buzz. I can't believe that that's Andy. These two are not the same kid.
But I think that's it for the little tidbit section here. I hope you enjoyed this format change or content change or whatever this is different from what I normally do, which I don't think I really even know what that is anymore. Anyways, I watched a lot of Toy Story and I had a good time talking about it, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed making it. If you enjoyed it a lot, it would really do a lot for me if you hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. It means so much to me. Or don't, and at least click the like, because that will make this video get pushed out to more people, and I would really like more people to see it. So just do me a favor and click the button, bud. But if you can't get enough of me, you can swing by streams. I do them Friday nights, 9-ish p.m. Central Time. And lastly, I'll leave you with this video here that YouTube thinks is the best video that I've made specifically for your taste. And if you haven't seen this other one I made, it's about weird video games I had as a kid. Okay, bye now.